Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 50 Shades of Tay. I'm Taylor Gonzalez, and I am so excited about my guest today. One of my favorite films last year was Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, and I am so excited to welcome Ben Whitehead, who voices Wallace. Ben, how are you doing today?
Hi there, Taylor. I'm doing just fine. It's really nice to talk to you today.
Oh, it's really nice to talk to you as well. I absolutely loved Vengeance Most Foul. It
Good.
is such a special film, and I just cannot get enough of it. I've seen it twice now, once at Netflix and then once at home in my living room, and it's just such a fun film.
Oh, thanks very much. Yeah, it's great. It really is a great film, and I can say that I didn't have much to do with it apart from just recording a few lines here and there. Honestly, I'm not self-deprecating. It's a fantastic film, and I I kind of knew it was the moment they gave me the script. I thought this is brilliant. This is hilarious. Um, and obviously I knew the work that would go into it would be phenomenal and as detailed and as just incredible as Aardman usually create. That doesn't, of course, necessarily mean everyone's going to like it. You never know. You just never know what's going to happen. And the response and the praise that I've been getting for my role in it has been just very, very touching, I
Oh.
have to say. It has, I mean, I've moved it onto myself, and we're not talking about the film as a whole there, but it's important to say it, everyone's been but I'll come back to that maybe, because I feel already self-conscious about talking about it.
No,
The
that's
film,
great.
I totally agree. I think it's an absolutely brilliant film. I really do. And I'm so glad everyone likes it. I'm so glad it's gone down so well. And
Mhm.
with a younger audience as well, especially my friends' kids just loving it.
Oh,
It's been really, really nice.
oh, that's really sweet. So this interview will actually be releasing on April Fool's Day. So before
Mhm.
we get into talking about the movie, I wanted to ask you, do you have a favorite April Fool's prank you've ever pulled on somebody?
Oh, do you know the last one I can remember? I was going up north for a football match, soccer match, sorry, and this really nearly backfired. I was going up north for a soccer match, and I was meeting my friend just outside of the city, and we were going to drive up to Yorkshire to watch the football match. And I phoned him up on the way and said, "Oh, that I wasn't going to be able to make the match because I was actually going to go and watch the city's rival team, like like the Derby rivals, like I'm going to go and watch them playing at another ground." And he believed me. He sent a message back, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." Now he was just about to leave. He was about to actually just drive up north, in which case he wouldn't have stopped to look at his phone and would have just left me there. So I kind of said, "April Fool." He went, "It's just as well I look because I was just about to drive up, but I was really angry with you." So yeah, that's not a favorite one. That's a message to everyone out there. It can backfire on you, so be careful with your April Fools.
Yes, be very careful, but it's just such a fun holiday. I love trying to do stuff. One year, I had an idea for my YouTube
Yeah, go on.
channel. I never actually did it because I didn't think people would get it. I wanted to put out reviews for movies that did not exist and just review a bunch of movies and see how long it took someone to catch on and be like, wait, what is he talking about? But I was like, I don't know. There's so many movies out there with all the different streaming platforms that people might believe that like what I'm talking about is real.
Okay, Taylor, here's what we're going to do. We're going to cut now, right? We're going to cut that. You're going to do that because it's brilliant. It's a great idea, right?
Oh my
So,
gosh.
and maybe we'll talk about another one that you have done. Okay, you've got to do that. It's a brilliant idea.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
well, tell me, Taylor, what April Fool's pranks have you pulled that you can tell
Oh,
me?
the only one that I can think of off the top of my head is one time I programmed all the radio stations in my friend's car to like the weirdest stations I could find. Like it wasn't, like mainstream music. It was like talk radio or like really loud, like just random sounds and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And then I couldn't figure out how to set the car back. And this was a long time ago. Like I would say before, like Google was as mainstream as it is now. And
Yeah.
yeah, for like a few months, it was just like one of the stations, it just sounded like pots and pans being banged together. It didn't even sound like actual music. And I was like, oh no, I don't know how to fix this thing.
Nice
Oh
one.
man, but I love April Fools. Uh,
Yeah, it's great. It's
such
great. Do you
such a
do
good
you have
time.
the cutoff thing at noon? It's over. Do you have that?
Um, for April Fool's Day or
Yeah, for April Fools,
um
you can't prank, you can't
mm,
fool after noon.
afternoon?
Got to do it in the
No,
morning.
no, I would say probably from midnight to midnight, you're safe.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it's a thing. I don't know how people abide by it, but it's generally a thing. It's like, yeah, it's noon cutoff, and then you can't. There's no pranking in the afternoon, kind of.
Oh
No
my
fooling in
gosh.
the afternoon.
That's stressful. I could just imagine like rushing to get that last minute prank in at 11:59.
I don't know how people adhere to it these days, but yeah. Anyway, that's April
Oh,
the 1st. That's coming up soon. I'll try
it
and come
is.
up with something.
Okay. So back in 2005, you were the voice of Mr. Li Ching in The Curse of the Were-Rabbit,
That's
which was one
correct.
of your very first roles. How did you get your start as a voice actor?
This is it's a very good question. And again, it's something I really only sort of just totally realized whilst I'm making this Vengeance Most Foul. Um, I got my start as a voice actor by going to Aardman to sort of audition, more meet the director about being a read-in actor for Curse of the Were-Rabbit. So they're casting and they need actors just to read in lines so that they can, the person that they're casting can just work with them and they get a gauge about whether or not they get the part or not. My friend had been doing it and he just phoned me up and said, the guy's dropped out. Can you get to Bristol? They need a male read in to sort of do Wallace's lines and generally the other character, Victor Quartermain's lines. And I was just in the car and out the door, and that was that. And I just sort of happened to sort of tell them that, oh, by the way, I kind of do voices and I can do it. You can do Wallace if you want to hear it. And they sort of said, sure, why not? Bonus. And that was it. So I never auditioned for the role. I had to keep the role, obviously, which meant I had to keep working on it. And fortunately, they gave me the time because no role is ever safe as an actor. You know that and plus, of course, most importantly, it was somebody else's role that I was doing, and obviously, total respect for
Mm,
Peter Sallis, whose voice I kind of imitated to do the thing, and yeah, that was obviously something to consider. People have asked me, and they said, "Did you work with Peter Sallis on your voice?" And I said, "No, no, no, that wasn't part of it for sure. I was his understudy." A vocal understudy, I think is probably the best way to put it, um, for the jobs that he couldn't or didn't want to do. I stepped in. So that's how I started in answer to your question.
oh, so cool.
Just they say be in the right place at the right time, but you also have to be in the right frame of mind. You
Mm,
have to be able to do
mhm,
it. And yeah, part of being an actor obviously is being available
mm.
because there's so many jobs that you well, it's not so many jobs. There's not so many jobs. There's not enough jobs. But one of the worst things is not being able to do a job because you're not available.
Right.
I think it's tough then. But you also, yeah, you just have to be ready. You
Mm,
have to be ready. And maybe a couple of weeks before, maybe I wasn't in the right frame of mind to sort of go that. It was just absolutely the right thing. And I suppose the approach that I've taken of working with Aardman has been just that. It's not been about I'm doing the voice of Wallace. It's never been about that. It's been about working with Aardman Animations because they're the best, you know. They're fantastic people to work with, and what they create is the best some of the best animation in the world. So it's always been about that for me. That's the priority, and I've worked with them on other projects as well, of course. But yeah, this has been my first lead.
oh, so cool. Something that's really interesting to me is Wallace and Gromit are just as popular today in 2025 as they were when they started. There's like a new Power Wash simulator with Wallace and Gromit. We have the new movie on Netflix. What do you think it is
Mhm.
about the characters of Wallace and Gromit that has made them resonate with audiences throughout the years?
They're funny. I mean, the simple answer is they're very funny, and you have that dynamic, and one of them's silent. You know,
Mm.
that helps. That really helps. Is that one of them is kind of saying what we're thinking, or not saying what we're thinking, but just like just the raised eyebrows, and um, it's fantastic. So you've got this kind of lovable fool, but he comes up with these fantastic inventions. That makes him interesting for a start. He which makes what's going to happen in the cartoon and the animation is going to be more interesting because he'll create a fantastical thing. In the first one, he built a rocket and went to the moon. There's always going to be that, and I think of course in the new one he makes something that is then infiltrated by an outside force. which is a thing we've kind of seen in, and we could kind of see that in the movie Wild Robot as well. Of course, you've
Oh
got
yeah.
this creation and who's controlling it, and
Mhm.
so they totally ripped off the idea that
Oh my gosh.
no, I'm just being silly. Um, yeah, but as far as the characters are concerned, yeah, the dynamic of them, I think having them, you know, just their understanding of each other. What I really liked, and what just worked for me so well, is that sort of the end of the movie. We can talk about it now. We're not spoiling if you
Yeah.
haven't seen it. Where have you been? That love between them, and not being able to not being able to live without his best pal.
Yeah.
I think it's just a absolutely lovely end to it all, and that's what's most important to him. And that might be a good answer to the question. They've got they're they'll fall out with each other and there'll be misunderstandings, but their bond is perhaps what's so important,
Mhm.
you know. You answer that question, you can say, "Oh, well, it's so British, and it's the Britishness." It's like, yeah, but people all over the world watch this, and they watch it in their own languages. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
doesn't that doesn't make sense. They're funny, and they love each other.
Yeah,
There we go.
and they're very positive films too. Like I would
Mhm.
say they're comfort movies. Because we were talking before we started recording about the fires that took place in LA, and I live in Pasadena, which is pretty close to where the Altadena fires were, and we weren't able to go outside for like a week just because of the amount of smoke and ash that was
Mhm.
in the air in our neighborhood. So we stayed in, and every night we were watching a different Wallace and Gromit movie or a different Wallace and Gromit short, and it helped like ease the stress of what was going on, and it was just like a
Mhm.
safe, fun way to, stay indoors.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm yeah, sorry to hear that. We really did think of you guys out there. We know what it's like to be stuck indoors, of course. Most of us do now.
Yeah,
I've gone back to 2020. Um, but it's like, yeah, slightly more even terrifying when you see that the sky's filling up with smoke as it would have been. So yeah, I'm glad it's the fires are out
yeah.
anyway. I'm very glad. That's the most important thing.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, what a time, what a year you've had.
Yeah. Well, switching to more positive things, Wallace
Let's
has
do that.
a lot of really fun lines throughout the film. Is there a favorite line of yours that sticks out?
From Vengeance Most Fell. I think the one that made me laugh out loud was is it I think you've said quite enough, young man, to
Oh
the
my
dog.
God.
Is it say young man? I think you've said quite enough. I think is probably my favorite in there, just because it really caught me. When the first time I watched it at a screening, I laughed. I thought, there we go. Right, that's the one.
Oh,
Um, I think you've said quite enough. Yeah, that'll do. How about
yeah.
that?
Oh, that was perfect. And I feel like I cannot interview you without asking you, are you a fan of cheese?
You're not the first person to ask it. I like cheese. I've not been eating much blue cheese recently, but yeah, I just love but I like the basic cheddar,
Mhm.
just a nice strong vintage cheddar. That's my answer. It'd be a boring world without cheese. But yeah, I guess what can I say? I'm quite easy to please with the cheese. I don't need this amazing French fromagerie. What? There's no what's a cheese board in French? Anyway, whatever that is. Um, yeah, I'm quite happy with like we have this here a plowman's lunch. It's called a plowman's lunch. You know this one?
No.
My friend tried to do it in New York, and because it's spelt with a GH plow, not with a W, everyone's calling it a Pluffman's. It's a Pluffman's. Anyway, a plowman's lunch is basically a piece of bread and a piece of cheese and like a pickled onion, maybe, maybe an apple. That's all you need. That's it. It's just like the most basic, simple lunch you can get. But you need a good piece of cheese on there. Don't just fob me off with any old rubbery cheese. It's got to be like nice, strong, makes the top of your head sweat kind of cheese. Yeah, that's what I like.
Oh, that's great. So I'm
How about
assuming,
yourself? You're a cheese fan?
mm, yeah, I feel like I am. I really like Swiss cheese, mozzarella
Mhm.
cheese, stuff like that. American cheese is
Mm.
kind of boring to me, so I like to switch it up.
you're plenty of mozzarella, plenty of Italian cheese over there, though, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's the same here. Like, we bought a lot of it,
So I'm assuming that throughout the years you've collected some Wallace and Gromit merch, and I was wondering if you have a favorite item, whether it's like a mug or a t-shirt or a stuffed animal. Mhm. Okay.
It's not merch, and I have shown this off before. Um, I do get merch, and I tend to keep it. I keep it. I just like, oh, don't ruin that. I got some really nice mugs from my sister-in-law at Christmas. They're beautiful with a W and G on there.
Oh,
This is what I will flash because this was a gift given to me and everyone else who worked on the Curse of the Were-Rabbit, and it's a golden carrot, and it was given to you to sort of the cast and crew of this thing here. Can you see that? Okay.
yeah, that's so cool.
Isn't that amazing? And it was the prize from the movie that that Gromit was after for for his marrow competition, in the vegetable competition. Sorry,
Oh my gosh.
and he ended up using it to shoot down the enemy aircraft, I suppose, was what he was going for, wasn't it? Like the little there's a wonderful little plane fight at the end.
Oh,
Sorry, no, it was Victor to shoot down the were-rabbit. Know the film that I was in. Never mind about that, me not remembering the plot line from the movie. This is what I got for, and again, for uh, the wonderful Vengeance Most Foul. Again, the turnip being a major plot point there. Again, like, can we mention that? But yeah, we got the golden turnip. So these are easily my two
so
favorite
cool.
things. It's just so nice. That's the company you're working with.
Mhm.
They do things like that, and they give you a little trophy at the end of it.
That
Just
is
feel like
so
you've
cool.
achieved something. I don't know about you, but I haven't won many trophies in my life.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Sports and things like that.
it's been a while. I
I've
used to play
won one medal.
soccer, but
Oh, you did? Where
yeah,
did you
it's
play?
been a long time.
What did you play? What
Um,
position?
oh my gosh. I was like, this is great. I was like the mid stop. It's been
Hmm.
so long that I don't even
Midfielder?
remember what position. Yeah, midfield.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is when I used to play, it was like maybe in middle school. They made like baseball cards of all the players.
Yeah.
So I have like, even though it's soccer, baseball cards of me
Of
as a
you?
soccer
That's
player, and
cute.
then like the back of the card had like my height, my eye color. It had like all the stats like a normal baseball card would.
Hmm.
So that's so cool. I still have like a handful of them left, and it's such a cool like thing to
Yeah,
remember
that's a
my
nice thing
days of
to
soccer.
do for that's a nice thing to do for a school kid. That's a really nice thing. Good
Hmm.
teacher who did that. Yeah, baseball, right? Can we talk? Are you interested?
Do it.
Started
Let's do it.
yesterday.
Oh,
It's
really?
yeah, yeah, you're right. See, I'm clear. I'm on the other side of the Atlantic where they just don't. Baseball is just not a thing here, and it's a real shame because it's one of my favorite games. I have to
Mm.
say, and it's one of the best sports ever invented. So yeah, I won't go on about it. That's not what we're here to talk about.
Oh my gosh.
Talking about the movies and everything else. But
Well,
yeah,
you know what we can talk about? We could talk about Feathers McGraw because he
go
is one of
ahead.
the most iconic movie villains of all time at this
Yeah.
point. What was your reaction when you read the script and you saw they were bringing him back for this film?
Well, the thing is, because you've got to be quiet about it, you can't mention to people what's going on, and then you say, yeah, I'm involved in the new Wallace and Gromit. Oh, I love the Penguin. I hope they bring him back, and you're like, whoa. So yeah, it was a lot of excitement to have him returning, but I think the sort of realization of watching the first screening was like, there's a new character. That's what Aardman do, is that, yeah, they'll bring this one back, but they'll also create something new. And I think Norbot has been a real hit with people. I know that the actor Reese, I've never met Reese, but Reese Shearsmith, who voices him, is currently doing a show in the West End, and I know he's getting a lot of requests to sign the Norbots,
Oh my gosh.
which isn't it's not what the show's to do with. So, but yeah, I think he's a fantastic. He did a great job with that voice. Just that kind of slightly unhinged, shut up, talk, la, la, la. It's brilliant. It's just what he does so well. So yeah, listen to me gushing like an actor. Yeah, I think this you can always depend or rely on Armour to come up with something new, and you know. for a Feathers, there's going to be a new character. Did you see them, Nick, unveiling the statue in Preston?
Oh yeah.
They have a Wallace and Gromit wrong trouser statue, and now they've added to it Feathers with a little remote control
Hmm. That thing's
next
so cool.
nearby. Yeah, it was lovely, that wasn't it? I've been up there to see the statue, and yeah,
Oh.
it was great to see them. I know Nick was very proud of that. He
Mhm.
told me it was a really nice moment for him to be able to do that.
That's great. Yeah, that was
His
such a cool
hometown.
statue.
Yeah, it was great, wasn't it? Yeah, and
Mm.
they mentioned the fact that everyone's getting tattoos of it. It's the most common. Did you know this?
Oh no, I didn't know.
It's the most asked for tattoo at the moment. Feathers. Yeah,
I can
like
see why
In the
though.
UK, I think in the UK, and whether it is still, but people were asking for yeah,
Oh my
Feathers
gosh.
McGraw's
That's
Feathers
that's
McGraw
hilarious.
tattoos.
I can see why because he's such a cool design and such a cute character.
Yeah, he's funny. He's funny and scary. Just that blinking, the whole sequence with him trying to get into the top secret files. Welcome to my top secret files. It
Hmm.
was hilarious, and just going through that. And when he sings like sweats, I love the
Oh
sweat
my
when he
God, that's
sweats.
so
Oh, it's so
hilarious.
good.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's that look what he gives him when he sees Gromit in the wrong trousers, and he's just looking up and he's just sort of blinking, looking up at him, and Gromit's looking back, and they kind of redo it with the Norbot in the new one, just sort of
Uh-huh.
turning to him and doing that same scary something's amiss kind of look.
Oh
It's
my gosh.
hilarious.
Yeah, I love Feathers. I can't wait to see where he shows up next. But so you mentioned he's
Yeah.
terrifying. And
Hmm.
speaking of terrifying, something I found out about you is like me, you're also a big horror fan. So I wanted to ask you what some of your favorite horror films are.
I'm glad you asked. I am a big horror fan. I recognize it as a genre that most of it is pretty terrible. Like, let's not lie. But I quite like that as well. I like that aspect of it. Yeah, being sort of attracted to the darker things, and I think most people are. You could be listening about something. I think my mum used to sort of do it when I was a kid, and she was like, "Oh, we were just driving along, so, oh, there was a witch there, and all there was that." I was like, "What? Tell me more." And with it, most of it will be made up, but that doesn't matter. That's even better. I get that with horror, and I love film in general. And going back to you've got silent era horror, some fantastic films, and Nosferatu is still a watchable movie. I think moving into that 30s period of the universal horror, but actually I think my favorite one is probably MGM. It was the Dr. Jekyll and Mr.
Oh
Hyde.
yeah.
I haven't seen it for ages. The
Mhm.
Frederick March version,
Oh.
the one that his transformation they kind of did all on camera. They didn't cut it, and they just
Oh
changed.
yeah.
They changed the focus. So they changed the lenses in the camera and the lighting in the room. So what was on his face sort of all of a sudden showed up. It was the one that Daffy Duck Bugs
Oh.
Bunny did every time they
Hmm.
drunk a potion.
Yeah, I totally remember that cartoon,
They
that
turned into
short.
the Frederick March version of it because
Oh, that's so
he's
good.
almost cartoonish,
Mhm.
but it's a brilliant film. I really want to see it again. It's been a long time. I watched it at the cinema with someone who wasn't impressed. It's always good. And Frankenstein as well, and watching the Boris Karloff Frankenstein.
Ooh.
I'm kind of like he's not. Do you know who the star of Frankenstein is? 1931. It's Jack Pierce, the makeup guy.
Mm, very true.
He created Frankenstein. When you think of Frankenstein, sorry, Frankenstein's monster, excuse me. When you think of the monster, that's what you think of.
Mhm.
Really? Do you think of anything else? Robert De Niro's or who I'm trying to think of another one. It's that's what you think of. That's what
Yeah.
people create themselves now.
Mm.
Green flat head. Um yeah, I love all that, but I love everything really. I love everything. It's not true. Calm down, calm down. I like the cross genre.
Mm.
So you have Alien. It's a sci-fi
Right.
horror. You have Psycho, which is a suspense horror.
Mhm.
But occasionally there is like the pure horror. You don't know where the um, you can't really put it in any other category. And I think the Blair Witch is a fantastic
So good.
example of that. I like Halloween. I think John Carpenter's Halloween, I think, would probably fall into that as the sort of king of the slasher movie.
Mhm.
I do like the obscure ones. There's a lot of folk horror around and has been for a while. The movie Kill List, I think, is one of the best British films of the last 20, outside animation, of course, of the last 25 years or so. It's absolutely fantastic. Have you seen
Kill
that one?
List? No,
Kill
I'll have
List.
to add that to my watch list. That sounds cool.
Ben Wheatley, yeah, is the director.
Okay.
Michael Smiley and Neil Maskell in it, and it's one of the you don't really realize it's a horror film until
Mm.
the last 20 minutes, and you go, oh,
Ooh.
even though it's been unsettling, but it's kind of masquerading as a Hitman movie,
Oh
but
wow.
all of a sudden it just absolutely catches you. I think it's a fantastic film, really
Okay.
really good film, and yeah,
Ooh. I'll have to check
unsettling.
that out.
What did I watch last week? Longlegs.
Oh, Longlegs
Longlegs
was so
really
good.
caught me by surprise.
Mm,
Osgood Perkins. Yeah. It was, it had been a long time since I felt like that in a
mm.
cinema, I think, of just like, oh, I'm very uncomfortable
Yeah.
with
Did you see
this.
Osgood's new one, The Monkey?
The Monkey I thought was good. I thought it was funny.
Mm.
And I loved being in a cinema full of people laughing their butts off at it. And
Yeah.
it was, look at me trying to swear. Uh, and it was yeah, it was nice, but I kind of yearned for that genuine, like, unsettling horror of Longlegs.
Yeah.
And I think by the looks of things, his next film is going that way because they
Mhm.
showed a trailer for it at the end, and I thought, yeah, I'll come back for that.
Oh
I'll
man,
come
I'm
back.
so jealous. Because I saw The Monkey like a week before it came out, so I
Mhm.
didn't get that extra trailer attached to the film
Yeah.
of his next film. But I think you're right. I think a lot of people were expecting The Monkey to be more like Long Legs, and then when
Mhm.
they got to the end of it, and it was more, I would say it was more comedy than horror,
No,
which I'm
completely.
fine with. But
Yeah.
I think some people were caught off guard with that. But I think it's so cool that he can go from something like Long Legs to The Monkey to his next thing and just switch it up and it's all horror, but there's different, genres, horror, comedy,
Mhm.
like straight up horror. I love what he does. So I can't wait to
Yeah.
see what he does next.
Yeah, no, me too. Me too. That's it. You've got me. You're like, I'm gonna watch your movies.
Mhm.
That's that. I like what you do. Yeah, there we go. We brought it up to date with the horror. I can honestly, do you know where I went? I was in Los Angeles recently for the Academy Awards, of course. And I went to this little museum there, at the Hollywood Museum of Hollywood or Hollywood Museum. It's just off the main Walk of Fame there, or
Mhm.
is it on it? I can't remember. I think it's anyway. It's like a storeroom. It's just there's so much stuff in it, and they've got the horror bit down in the basement there with the death masks. They were like death masks of Boris Karloff, and I was like,
I've never
Boris
been there.
Karloff.
I gotta check that out. That's
You
so
check it
cool.
out. They do
Okay.
not hit you up much on the door either. It's pretty reasonably priced to get in.
All right,
You
all
might
right.
even get resident rates. I don't know. And they also recreate that bit in Silence of the Lambs, where she walks up to the cell
Uh-huh.
and there's a seat out for her. They've got that. They've got like that walk there, which is fantastic.
Oh, that's so
Um,
cool.
with a sort of, you know, kind of mannequin of Anthony Hopkins with like a mask over it. But it's just brilliant. I thought, what a nice effort. That's my kind of museum.
Mhm.
I
That
I
sounds
I,
fun.
for, I forewent the visit to Universal Studios and the big
Mm.
stuff like that. I went, no, just show me something like that, and I'll go to a couple of movie houses as well. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely have to hit them up while you're in town.
you do. Yeah, you got nice independent cinemas there.
Mhm.
What was the one in Los Feliz? The Monkey
Oh,
was showing there. The
was it
Vista.
yeah, the
The Vista,
Vista.
the
Hmm.
beautiful looking place. I'd already seen the movie, so I didn't go in. I went to the Los Feliz 3,
Oh,
I think it's
okay.
called. It was just really nice. I saw that Brazilian movie, the one that won the Best Picture Oscar. Uh,
Oh, I'm
I'm
still
still
here? Yeah, yeah, yeah,
here.
yeah.
I'm still. Come
Yeah,
on, I
yeah.
remember. Yeah,
Oh,
it's just a
cool.
great, great film about a part of Brazilian history that still very much in the mind of Brazilians, but
Mhm.
it's not something that I've seen much, interpreted. So of that military dictatorship they were kind of living under for so many years. Yeah,
Very fun. Well, I did want to ask you one more thing. I know you've been busy with performances of Ben Strangebone, and I was,
Fred.
oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
He's Fred.
Fred.
I'm Ben.
Yes, yes.
That's fine. Do you know a lot of people think I'm called Fred? They don't. They
Oh,
don't know. The
really?
people still be going, "What's your real name again?" I just know you as Fred.
Oh my
But yeah,
gosh.
Fred Strangebone. Go ahead.
Oh
Sorry.
yeah, I just was wondering if you could just tell me a little bit about that project.
Thank you. Yes, it's a character I created many years ago that I keep sort of dipping in and out of, and bringing him back. I have done a couple of shows with him where I played him and other characters. I've taken him. I did a Frankenstein show with him. Um, but who is he? Where did I come up with it? I had this idea for creating a fairly creepy character, I think, and it just sort of, but in completely the wrong settings. Like put this kind of scary looking guy where they shouldn't be, in a florist or, in a wherever, like a somewhere cutesy and small worldy or whatever else. You know what I mean? And soon realized that I don't know if that's going to work. This character I kind of worked on when I was working in a tourist attraction in London, and I took a character from a soap opera called Dot Cotton, and I kind of gave it their voice. He was very much like this. He doesn't really talk like that anymore, because it was just in the East End, and she was in a show called EastEnders. But yeah, she was a big influence on it. June Brown's character. And Ivor Novello in the film The Lodger. Have you seen that one? It's a very early Hitchcock silent movie. And if you see a picture of him, you'll see this sort of wide-eyed, staring character, and that's that. I took him out of that. I kind of put him in that old world in that silent era very
Mhm.
much. Um, and then just realized that actually, as a comic convention, that silence is really, really good for building up tension,
Mhm.
comic tension, and then releasing that tension, you can get a laugh, and that's basically him. But the other thing is that he's got to be the victim. He can't be the creepy guy. He might look, but he's scared, and I think people get that now. They're going, he's more scared of us. He's much more scared of us than we are of him. And it gives me a chance to do physical comedy, which I love,
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
also craft and create gags and you know situations for this person to be in
Oh, that
that
sounds really fun.
maybe people can identify. And yeah, I've got a show coming up later. I've done this just sort of like a pure comedy show with him now,
Oh, cool.
and it's a question of like how could someone who's so silent and understated and low energy, can you do that for 55 minutes or an hour? And I'm finding out, yeah, you can.
Mhm.
It's like push yourself. How far can you do it? How
Yeah,
far can you test these people's patience with you
if
as they
people
sit there?
want to come and see the show, where would be a good place for them to keep up with like performances and get tickets and stuff like that?
Yeah, you can look at me on Instagram, Ben Whitehead Voice. That's probably the best thing. That's the thing I look at most of the time.
Mhm.
It's part of the the London Clown Festivals, which is on in two venues in London. London Clown Festival is on in June, and it's June the 20th at the Soho Theatre I'll be performing at.
Oh, so
If you want to
cool.
get tickets for that, if you're in the UK. But I did meet someone in Los Angeles at the Hyperion Theatre. Kona, her name was. Very nice. And she's going to be over. So I said, you got to come and watch this. So, anyone else coming over?
Yeah, that sounds like a
Um,
fun time.
yeah, yeah, it should be a great show. Well, I say that it should be a great show. We hope it's a great show, right?
Mhm.
Because people are going to turn up, and I'm going to do it. And then, of course, there's the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in the summer. We have the biggest arts festival in the world, in the UK, up in Scotland. There, it's you got to come over. I
Yeah, I
mean,
would love that. That sounds
you
like
got to
so
you
much
got
fun.
to come and see the Fringe. It is like nothing else. I mean, it's got its problems. There's
Mm.
no doubt about that. It's very big. There's a lot on, and it's very hard for artists to actually be able to afford to perform there, especially given accommodation rates and things like that. But it's not stopping people. People are still going to it. So hopefully it'll get a lot fairer. But yeah, as a someone who wants to come over and watch comedy, watch theatre, watch hopefully some kind of alternative stuff that you're not going to see anywhere else. Yeah, get yourself up to Edinburgh one year, Taylor. You'll
Oh,
really
I
enjoy
would
it.
love that. And we could see some shows and have some cheese.
Yeah. Up in Scotland, you got to have a bit of haggis.
Oh
You know
yeah,
how
yeah,
this
very
is?
true.
Love
Yes,
my
I have.
haggis.
Yeah, 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 that'd be
Love
fun.
it.
Oh
I
my
do love a
gosh.
bit of haggis. Cullen skink as well. You want to get out there? This is like a chowder. It's beautiful.
Oh,
Great, great stuff.
fun.
Yeah. Haggis,
Well,
Cullen skink.
Ben, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day to join me. It was so fun getting to talk with you about Wallace and Gromit and horror. When I bring back my favorite horror movie, because I do it like around Halloween time, September, October, I would love to
Yeah.
have you on as a guest and we could just spend a whole episode talking about a specific horror film. That'd be so fun for me.
Oh, if I'd known that, I wouldn't have rambled on about it so much now.
No, no,
Thank
no,
you
that's
very
good.
much. I'd
We'll
love
we'll
to do
pick
that,
like
mate.
yeah,
I'd
yeah, yeah.
love
We'll
to
pick
do
like
it.
one. It could be something recent, or it could be
Hmm.
something, from our childhood. We could do whatever you want. It'd be a very
Yeah.
fun Halloween time thing. But
Yeah.
in the meantime, thank you for joining me and happy April
Pleasure.
Fool's Day.
I won't prank you, I promise you.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you, Ben. It was so fun, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Taylor. It's great to talk to you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.